on, everybody? It's your Fly Tech guy Mark, and today we are talking about smartwatch wearables. So I used to have a Galaxy Watch Active, and I had to make the switch because my watch just wasn't as compatible with a Pixel phone as it was with a Samsung phone. So I now switched to the Fossil smartwatch. It is the Fossil Gen 5, and I've been using it for a little bit now. And I want to let you guys know why I made the switch, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Gen 5 and why it is actually a really good smartwatch in late 2019 and hopefully early 2020. We'll start off with the Galaxy Watch Active. The design is really nice, especially coming from a WearOS 3 Frontier, which was a much bigger watch. This watch was very slim. It only had 2 buttons on it. It got rid of the spinning dial bezel on the top, whatever you want to call it. It was just a really comfortable watch to wear around. Now, I started wearing it with my Note 8, and it was awesome. Very compatible. I had all the Samsung apps on there, and I really enjoyed it. But I made a switch to a Pixel phone, and that's when things started to get a little clunky and not as enjoyable. Going through the apps were actually kind of easy, and you know, sometimes your fingerprints may pick up the wrong app, especially with losing that rotating crown or bezel, and it just wasn't working as well as I wanted it to with my Pixel phone. So what I mean by that is, for instance, the messaging. I didn't have the messaging app on the watch, so I couldn't just go into my messages and see who I've texted recently and then respond back. I actually had to wait for a text message and then answer that text message, and that's the only way I could respond. Also, if you wanted to get past that, you had to get a different launcher, and then you could get into the messages from that launcher, and then you could start using the messages from there. Another thing that you lose from this watch would be Google Pay. Now, I used to use Samsung Pay, so I had Samsung Pay set up on the watch, but once I got the Pixel phone, I didn't have Google Pay and I had Samsung Pay, so that was a little difficult switching back and forth between those. So that was another thing that I just needed to get fixed, and I really wanted Google Pay back. Another thing is the fitness apps. Now, the fitness apps were Samsung Fit, or whatever Samsung calls their app, and Google Fit. So not having the capability of using the Samsung Fit on my watch and on my phone, or Google Fit on my watch and my phone, was kind of frustrating. So that was another thing that was making me think, hey, you know, you should switch over to a WearOS watch, because it's just going to be more compatible with your fitness tracking than, say, Samsung to Google Pixel. So WearOS watch just really sounded good to me at that time. But if you want a Galaxy Watch Active or Active 2, they are still really good watches for any type of Android phone. So I'm not saying it's a bad watch. I'm just saying that for me, I wanted more compatibility with my watch and my phone. So if you have a Samsung phone, definitely look into getting a Samsung Watch Active or Watch Active 2. That is the smartwatch that you need to get if you have a Samsung phone, trust me. With that being said, let's talk about the Fossil Gen 5, because it is actually a really neat watch and I really enjoy using it. The Fossil Gen 5 design is a little bit different than Samsung's. It's a little bit bigger, and it has one more button, and the buttons actually protrude from the device. So Samsung's, they were kind of in the device and you just clicked them. They were kind of smoothed out with the device, whereas these, you know, kind of stick out. The crown and the 2 buttons on the side, they both kind of stick out. So that's a little bit different. And I forgot to mention before, both screens amazing. Nothing to worry about with the screen quality. They're both very good. But I really like this crown, and it's a little bit more simple to use than navigating through Samsung's. So Samsung's watch is a little more touch-based. This watch, you use the crown to get through pretty much everything that you do. If you want to get to your notifications, you can use the crown. If you want to get to your settings or your swipe down menu, you can use the crown to do that. And obviously navigating through all of the apps, you can do the same thing, which is really fun to do. Actually, I kind of just do it sometimes. If I get bored, just roll that crown back and forth and go through all the apps. Other than that, let's talk about the messaging, because that is a really important thing that was a factor for me between switching and keeping the Samsung watch. So messaging on the watch is a lot easier than it was on Samsung's watch, whereas you had that old keyboard that you had to tap a number of times to get to a certain letter, wait if the letter that you wanted to use was on the same key as the letter before. And this Gen 5 has a big keyboard. You can use swipe texting, you can type regularly, whatever you want to do, and it's really easy to use, really fun to use, and you can respond pretty quickly even if you're typing a kind of big text. Now, I wouldn't type a paragraph on this, but I would be able to type a sentence or two pretty easily. Obviously, having Google Fit on the watch and the phone was easier to use, more compatible. Same with Google Pay. Much easier to use Google Pay when it's on the watch and on the phone, and it kind of just brings everything together. So I just wanted to make a short video on why I thought WearOS was a better switch for me as a Pixel user. So if you're a Pixel user out there, I definitely think you should get a WearOS watch. It's going to be easier to use, more fun to use, and it's just going to be a better thing to have on your wrist than having a Tizen operating system Samsung watch. Not to say that Samsung watches aren't great, because I've used one for a very long time. Up until this point, I actually was a Samsung watch user. So they are great phones, they are great watches, and if you have them together, they work perfect. But if you have a Google phone, if you have a OnePlus maybe, I would stick to WearOS. That's it for me. I hope you guys liked the video, and my Pixel 4 video is coming soon, so if you like more of these videos, subscribe, like, leave comments down below. It's your Flight Tech Guy Mark, and I'll see you guys in the next one.